Hello and welcome to this introduction to Blender. My name's Andrew Forster and I'll just be giving a general sort of overview of everything that it is in Blender. It can be quite an overwhelming piece of software since it can just do a wide range of things. I mean, animation, motion capture, building 3D models, just to name a few really. I've only explored a small amount of what Blender can do. Now, a good source to find if you wish to explore more about this software is the actual Blender website, blender.org. If you go there, you'll find tons of information on the software itself, its capabilities, its features, but as well as loads and loads of links to tutorials on how to use all the different things. Now, when you first open Blender, you'll be presented with something pretty much like this. You've got a splash screen in the middle, tells you the version number and just some sort of quick links to everything as well, just if you want to start a general file. They've been quite nice in recent years and they've created preset layouts for people to use. So all the common things that most people who have experienced using this have ended up with. So if you click anywhere else outside of that splash screen, we can get into the user interface itself. Now we can see we've got a really large area here. This is our viewport. This is where we look and do things, manipulate 3D objects and the like. On the left is quick access to your on-screen viewport things that you want to do. And if you leave the mouse over there for a while, it'll tell you all about it. On the right hand side is going to be pretty much to do with the object that you're dealing with. So if I click on the cube, it'll also show on the right, further right, we'll get there in a minute, but it'll highlight its location. At the moment this one is sat right on the center of the entire scene. You can see these two lines here. These represent the y-axis and the x-axis. So you've also got the z-axis, which is up and down. You can see it on this little control aspect here. In this scene we've got a light, provides illumination into the system. At the moment we've not got it switched to a mode which shows us what the lighting is doing. This is just purely a design mode. And then a camera for if we want to generate pictures or record movies. It just captures the scene of this. You can have multiple cameras, get the cameras to animate and move around just as much as you can the actual objects you create. Now moving over to the right hand side of the screen, this really opens up the properties of whatever you've got selected, or even allows you to view in a nice tree structure the objects you've got selected. So everything's arranged in nice sort of collections, and that just helps organizing everything. The times I've designed large builds, either designing a robot or just sculpting or anything like that, I've ended up with so many pieces that it's helpful to arrange things in their own little area like this. Each of these corresponds to a different set of options. Now you'll see there's a tiny gap there. That is dividing between the upper part is for dealing with the scene itself. If we go to here, we can see what type of render engine. That's basically how it's displaying the information in front of you, how it's rendering, how it's calculating where light is falling. If I move that around, you can see. And what it's doing is it's rendering at real time. So it's kind of using physics-based light to work out where the light is coming from there to hit, and then hit this entire screen. Because when you're viewing the view area like this, it's taking this all as a camera, whereas if I click on the camera, push a 0 on the numpad, it'll show me what the camera is looking at. And if I use on the side here to click on the light itself, push G to move it around, I can see I can affect it, even just have things around. You've got different modes that you can, or viewport shading as it's called. So that one will just show what color the materials are, and a lot of this I'll cover in later tutorials. So the lower half here will be related to the object you've selected. So this here, there's tons of information you can play with. If I rotate the object along the Z-axis, you can see on the right over here that I've changed it, but you can also change it there as well. There's just so many places to do things and change it. It's an absolute treasure trove, and it's understandable why people can get quite overwhelmed. But like anything, you just focus on one thing at a time, build up your knowledge with it until you're more comfortable to move on next. But sometimes it does help to have someone say, this is where you look first. Now, as well as all the many other features, we can do animation as well. So we'll see along the bottom we've got a time bar. So if I click on play, it'll run through. For this one, it's saying that it's got 250 frames. So you can click and stop that. So if I move that cube to there, push I on the keyboard, insert keyframe to there, scroll across to there, to frame 110, move to the other side, push I, location, click on that, change that to 0, save trying to position that accurately, change it to location, set it to location by pressing I. Is with it at that location, I can tap there, Control C to copy, so you've got all the standard copy paste commands. Click there to go to the last frame, save it there, press I, location, go back to the beginning, and then I've got pretty much a looping animation, so that will slide across, go back to the middle for a bit, and then all the way to the end. And I'll just keep going really. Along the top you've got different tabs which are different layouts for this interface. This interface is completely configurable. You can really just change things around and go crazy, open up new windows, and some of the key places that you will be visiting are the shading tab, and this is where it breaks out this area here, but you can actually expand on it. So this is what's actually the material itself, but from here again you can see both where I'm moving the line here on the middle of the screen and on the right of the screen. You can see it changing the same value, and you can see the metallicness of the object going as well. But what I can also do, if I do Shift A, which is a general key press for the add menu, which you can also do from here. Now Shift A, we're going to use a texture, a brick. Let's get a nice brick one, and drag its color across to there, and lo and behold, it puts a texture like that on there. Now, yeah, lots and lots of fun with these. I mean, if you wanted, you could move that there and just attach it to the metallic property. So then you've got something where the level of metallicness, how shiny it is like metal, depends on the colors you've used for the bricks there. But then from there you can then drag the factor, which is, instead of sending color coordinates, it's sending a value from 0 to 1, which represents how it's drawn all of these things. Now if I drag that across to displacement, we then get a nice effect like there's ridges to it. If I remove it, you can see it goes flat again. But this is the shading tab. There's also compositing. Pretty much when you go in there for the first time, you've got to click on the use nodes. Remember that, otherwise you don't see these two blocks. Now that represents the current scene, or the current layer in the scene, because everything in this Blender is set up a bit like a film and movie industry style of stuff. So you can set up different scenes, transition between them, and each scene can have multiple layers. So a bit like if you've done a drawing and then you put some tracing paper over the top to do another drawing or add to it, it's a bit like this. You can set things up so you can join them all together. So Shift A, you can bring in another, in fact you can bring in an image to use. Where is render layer? There we go. So say if we had multiple render layers or even multiple scenes, we'd be able to pick them from there. I'll get rid of that one. We'll use alpha over just as an example. So we can take that first one, put it there, and then we can say whatever's generated in that scene will overlay it. So we can say that this scene has a transparent background. So in that one we've done a nice fancy landscape. Maybe takes a good few hours to generate, and then we can save it as a picture, bring it in, but it can sit there, and then we can have the characters in the landscape. So that probably is only done once, whereas that one is done multiple times for how the character moves. You can then have it so that the characters have a transparent background, they're overlaid with this alpha over, and then resulting image is sent to there. So that's the three main areas: layout, shading, and compositing, where you can really just do things how you want to do full animation. I don't usually use the modeling one. You can, and that just takes you into an area where you see the shape itself, where you can build it up. So if I select those points there, these I'll go over in more detail when I do the shape editing. And from here, yeah, you can just really have lots of fun just splitting out shapes, doing all sorts. So you got the reflections there going nicely. If I go into there, F12 should start that rendering. Of course it sends it to my other screen, so pardon it's going a bit slow. I haven't changed the settings on mine to use all the processors correctly. But F12 will tell it to generate the scene, and that's when it really goes into detail and working out from the camera that's looking at the scene where is the light coming from, what it's bouncing off, and then it can just generate a really nice picture. So while that's running, I'll say thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next tutorial.